Sometimes the scariest people aren't strangers. They're the ones living right next door. They seem normal, but behind the smile, something much darker is hiding. These aren't one-time mistakes. They're patterns of harm no one saw coming. It's shocking how far some people will go, again and again. Let's take a closer look at the stories behind these quiet faces. He blended in, a husband, a father, a successful architectural consultant. To most, Rex Heuermann looked like any other middle-aged man navigating New York's fast-paced life, but behind the tidy suburban image lay something terrifying, something police say spanned decades. The unraveling began in July 2023. In the heart of Manhattan, Heuermann was arrested in connection with the Gilgo Beach murders, one of the most unsettling investigations in modern American history. For years, the case had frustrated law enforcement. The remains of women, mostly escorts, were found wrapped and discarded along a remote stretch of Ocean Parkway. For over a decade, the trail had gone cold. What finally cracked it? A slice of pizza. Discarded crust from a surveillance operation provided DNA that matched genetic evidence found on multiple victims. It was the breakthrough detectives had long sought. Soon, more charges followed, not just for the initial victims, 3 women found in 2010, but also for others stretching back to the early 2000s and even as far back as 1993. Investigators later found a disturbing file on Heuermann's computer, something described in court as a digital roadmap. It detailed methods for avoiding detection, disposal strategies, and eerily detailed notes on how to prepare a scene. It was cold, calculated, disturbingly thorough. Yet while all this was happening, he lived in Massapequa Park with his family. Neighbors described him as quiet, even boring. His wife, shocked by the allegations, filed for divorce shortly after his arrest. Their home became the subject of intense forensic searches, with authorities seizing hundreds of items. Every drawer, crawl space, and hard drive was examined. Now in custody and awaiting trial, Heuermann maintains his innocence. His legal team is fighting tooth and nail to challenge the use of advanced DNA techniques. In early 2025, a series of court hearings began to decide whether advanced DNA techniques used in the investigation are scientifically valid. The defense is still fighting to exclude this evidence, while prosecutors prepare for a possible trial in 2026. With each passing month, more connections are explored. Cold cases once forgotten are being re-examined under this new lens. Investigators believe there may be more victims, more names that never made headlines. Until now, behind that ordinary face may lie a history darker than anyone imagined. And while the courts will determine his fate, the full extent of what was hiding in plain sight may still be coming into focus. In the shadowed corners of the Southwest, a man with a disturbing vision moved between 2 states, hiding his darkness behind calm eyes and quiet behavior. Jason Thornburg, born in 1980, wasn't just another face in the crowd. He believed he had a divine mission. His descent began in 2017 when his girlfriend, Tanya Begay, vanished during a trip through Arizona. Though no remains were recovered, he later admitted to ending her life, claiming it was part of a sacred act. Her family searched endlessly, unaware that the man they trusted had already decided her fate. Years passed. Then, in May 2021, tragedy struck again. A house in Fort Worth, Texas, went up in flames. Inside, the charred body of his roommate, Mark Jewell, was found. It seemed like an accident, until Jason confessed. He had slit Jewell's throat and turned the house into an inferno to erase the evidence. But it wasn't over, not even close. That September, Jason rented a motel room in Ules. Within those walls, horror unfolded. Over the course of several days, 3 individuals, David Lueras, Lauren Phillips, and Maricruz Matis, entered that room. None made it out alive. Jason later told investigators he felt called to offer them as sacrifices. What followed was not only brutal, it was surgical. Bodies were dismembered. Blood was drained. One victim's heart was partially eaten. The acts were methodical, not impulsive. Eventually, he packed their remains into containers and set them ablaze in a dumpster. But the fire didn't hide everything. Surveillance footage caught his Jeep near the scene. When police searched his motel room, the evidence they found painted a picture so disturbing it shook even veteran detectives. During interrogation, he spoke with calm detachment, describing each death as if he were recounting a grocery list. He believed he was fulfilling a higher calling, one that demanded lives be taken in ritual. In court, prosecutors argued for the ultimate punishment. The jury agreed. By December 2024, Jason was sentenced to die by lethal injection. Now sitting on death row, he waits in silence, his twisted beliefs still echoing through every unspeakable act. The full scope of his intentions may never be known, but what's certain is this: 5 lives were stolen under the guise of salvation, and a man who thought himself chosen became an architect of terror. In a quiet neighborhood of Kigali, no one imagined the dark truth hiding behind the walls of a modest rental home in Gashikiri. Dennis Kazungu, a man in his early 30s, lived an unassuming life on the surface. He blended in, kept to himself, and paid little attention to the world outside. But beneath this ordinary facade was a history of horrifying actions that would leave an entire nation in disbelief. Between April 2022 and September 2023, a pattern unfolded, though few noticed it at first. Individuals, mostly women, vanished after nights out, never to be seen again. The connection between them was invisible until one crucial moment. Kazungu's landlord, frustrated over unpaid rent, contacted authorities to inspect the premises. That decision uncovered something no one was prepared for. Inside the house, investigators made a disturbing discovery: a pit dug beneath the kitchen floor, holding the remains of 12 people. Each one had suffered brutal violence. The silence of the home had hidden not just secrets, but suffering. As Kazungu was taken into custody, he confessed: 14 lives, 13 women, and 1 man. His reasons? Twisted and delusional. He claimed he was taking revenge, believing his victims had infected him with disease. What made the situation even more alarming was that just months before, Kazungu had already been arrested on separate charges of rape and theft. However, due to lack of strong evidence, he was released. That decision cost lives. His crimes weren't random acts of rage. They were calculated. He used false identities and manipulated strangers with a disturbing calmness. Many victims were drawn in from local bars, unaware they were walking into a trap. Once inside, they were assaulted, robbed, and silenced. When he stood before the court in 2024, Kazungu pleaded guilty to a total of 10 charges, ranging from murder to concealment of corpses. The sentence was severe: life behind bars with no opportunity for release. Despite appealing in 2025, hoping for leniency through expressions of regret, the court upheld the original ruling. The case sent shockwaves throughout Rwanda, not just because of its scale, but because it unfolded quietly in a community like any other. A man who passed unnoticed became the face of a tragedy that still lingers in memory.